While the Foundation scrambles to deploy its forces, it's pandemonium on Earth. A multi-limbed spider-human hybrid with tufted white and red fur crawls through the city streets, calling to passers-by with phrases that seem alternatively threatening and provocative. Anyone who gives him trouble answers to his Tommy gun. Behind him is a squat cyclopean in a red French-maid outfit, seemingly obsessed with cleaning every piece of trash and speck of dust off the road, or off the suits and skin of any human she could get her frantic little hands on. A gray-skinned woman with an X-shaped eye patch follows the two, wielding a deadly angelic spear, reprimanding them and offering unconvincing apologies to any and all humans they encounter. Above, a winged cat demon flies from rooftop to rooftop. Though he wasn't the most terrifying thing in the sky, that honor would go to the enormous steampunk airship piloted by a sinister anthropomorphic cobra and his crew of sentient egg creatures. Police helicopters swerve to try and get a better angle on the unearthly vessel, but it deploys nightmarish artillery to blast them out of the sky. Strangest of all the invaders might be the antlered man dressed mostly in red, with a hungry look in his menacing eyes, who would just smile as he eyed the city's radio tower in the distance. Big plans seemed to be swirling in his head, but the ramifications of them were not yet known to the population of this world. The ringleader of this incursion seemed on the surface to be the least threatening, but in truth, this pale young woman was the daughter of Lucifer himself. Her real identity was, in fact, Charlie Morningstar, from the hit Amazon Prime original adult animation Hazbin Hotel, created by Vivienne Medrano and produced by A24 Studios. I'm actually quite fond of Charlie and her band of misfit demons when they and the infernal realm they hail from are safely on the other side of my computer screen. But it's a different story when the princess and her sinners would be up close and personal. Though I'm fairly certain that some people would have far less objection, enough to put $50,000 down for the mere opportunity. Regardless, in such an event of demons from Hazbin Hotel appearing in consensus reality, the resources of the SCP Foundation would need to be deployed as soon as humanly possible to contain the threat. Though it was far outside of their usual region of operation, the skillful aerial combatants of MTF Sigma-9 were scrambled from their airbase in Scandinavia and sent to engage in a dogfight with Serpentius's ship. In order to stall for time until Sigma-9 arrived, a different mobile task force was deployed, known for expertise in airborne anomalies, MTF Lambda-4, Birdwatchers. From within the command deck of his ship, Serpentius assessed the incoming hostiles and, with a devious flourish, ordered his henchmen to engage all weapon systems. As hellish weaponry bombarded the surrounding buildings, collateral damage was unavoidable. Even Husk had to swerve and dodge to avoid being downed by the artillery fire of his supposed compatriot. While Lambda-4 was largely in over their heads with the sheer amount of firepower the demonic steampunk-style airship was outputting, a few of their paratrooper members were able to use this opening to reach and restrain Husker, the first of the Hazbin Hotel demons to actually be caught. He would naturally be interrogated to provide intel on the others, which, to the surprise of the MTF agents, Husker provided voluntarily. Because he was the barkeep of the refreshment bar at the hotel itself, Husker knew a great deal about the secrets of everyone else who stayed and worked there. He also appeared to be something of a gossip, despite his brusque demeanor. There would be more from him as the situation developed, but for now, the bulk of Mobile Task Force infantry was split between two fronts. The vanguard would be pursuing Vaggie, Angel Dust, and Nifty in an attempt to minimize the danger they posed, while a smaller and more diplomatically inclined stealth force would trail Charlie Morningstar as she searched for the rest of the group. At the moment, Charlie seemed most concerned with the whereabouts of Alastor. This was because she trusted Vaggie the most, and thus believed that she could handle the task of managing Angel Dust and Nifty, and quite possibly trusted the radio demon the least. The personnel tracking her were instructed to be ready to encounter Alastor as well, and to expect anything from him. The Mobile Task Force agents were upon Angel Dust, Vaggie, and Nifty first, prompting Vaggie to try diplomacy. Naturally, being a gremlin and a sugar-high spider, Angel Dust and Nifty scattered into the nearby alleyways, leading the MTF in two directions, while Vaggie slaps her forehead with disappointment. The couple of agents that remained behind had their guns pointed at Vaggie and instructed her to put her hands in the air. Not one to appreciate authority other than Charlie's, Vaggie manifested her pointy spear and used the edge of it to slash through the guns at close range. She would avoid dealing death blows, even though she easily could, and skirmish with the agents while searching for an escape route. Meanwhile, in one of the alleyways, Angel Dust was cornered against a brick wall as the agents closed in with their guns. Angel squinted and did a quick head count of the number of guns. Upon realizing that there were exactly 6 agents, Angel Dust cracked a big smile and released all 6 of his own retractable limbs, each holding a machine gun of its own. He made a witty joke about how their numbers were even now and proceeded to blow the Mobile Task Force agents away with his equivalent force of weapons. Nifty, on the other hand, wasn't in fight mode so much as run around in unpredictably wild circles mode. She picked the lock to the back door of a restaurant and started racing around inside the building, finding the closet full of cleaning supplies almost immediately. What followed from there was a pattern of Nifty rushing away from her pursuers, knocking something in the kitchen or dining area over to accidentally obstruct them, then obsessively cleaning up her mess while evading capture. She couldn't run forever, and before long, Nifty was the second to be captured. Still at large are Alastor the Radio Demon, Angel Dust, Charlie Morningstar, Serpentius, and Vaggie. The hunt is about to get even more dangerous as Alastor sets foot inside the building for the city's most popular radio station. Security guards rush towards the lobby as the antlered figure seems to glitch the air around them with unusual visual distortions. His limbs extend outward beyond his already prodigious height and brutally grab and throw the security guards against the wall, where they splatter like bloody fireworks. The radio demon laughs as he returns to normal size and moves towards the elevator. Before he can enter, a few members of the Mobile Task Force manage to get inside the radio building and open fire on Alastor, who smiles ominously. Black tentacles straight out of a game of Dungeons & Dragons emerge from the floor and manhandle the agents while deflecting the majority of their bullets. The elevator doors close, and with them, Alastor's devious grin disappears. He's now heading up towards the higher floors, ready to begin a terrifying broadcast that the mortal world will never forget. Outside, Sigma-9 arrives, and Serpentius is feeling the pressure of going against an entire organized team of fighter pilots. His airship might have superior weaponry to those found in the human world, but his egg minions didn't have the coordination to win the battle on a tactical level. MTF Sigma-9 uses missiles and tight maneuvers to lure Serpentius' ship over to the city bay, where they proceed to take it down with the full brunt of their arsenal. The steampunk craft hits the surface of the water, and its crew is soon retrieved and added to the list of captives. Serpentius and his eggs are brought into a temporary holding cell with Nifty and Husker. Nifty has been put in an extra strong straitjacket, but is still practically bouncing off the walls. As for Husker, the winged cat has been calm and compliant ever since the leader of Lambda 4 lent him a flask to drink from. The Drinky Demon continues to provide the SCP Foundation with a steady stream of information regarding the others that have appeared in the real world. He seems to speak of Alastor with the most contempt and offers the Mobile Task Forces a major warning about exactly what the Radio Demon can do when he's feeling malicious. Nifty would chime in occasionally to praise Alastor, saying how cool and dreamy he was, much to the annoyance of Husker and confusion of the MTF agents who didn't realize that the one-eyed demon was apparently 22 years old, despite her size. Elsewhere, Angel Dust and Vaggie manage to reunite and find their way to Charlie, at which point, all three are surrounded by the members of the Mobile Task Force. There is apprehension and concern from SCP Foundation personnel that Lucifer's daughter could go nuclear, but in contrast to the worst-case scenario, she merely tries to explain what has been going on. Charlie Morningstar had apparently been trying to help the guests in her hotel to get to heaven, and recently she had discovered a way to allow the next best thing. Her plan was to see if she could physically transport her sinners to the pearly gates, but the infernal artifact she was using to ensure a smooth trip malfunctioned and only took them as far as the mortal realm. She had tried to help her friends and guests all get back to hell for another attempt, but the magic that brought them here had also separated them too. In a risky diplomatic move, the SCP Foundation agents assure Charlie that 3 of her associates are safe and in the same location. They go on to state that no harm will come to herself or the ones she is with if she surrenders willingly. Reluctantly, Charlie concedes to the demands, but is reminded by Vaggie that Alastor is still out there in the city. The Radio Demon is a total wild card, even to his fellow demons, and there was a chance that he could be committing evil just for the fun of it. This description seemed to match up with the intelligence that Husker had provided, and it was enough for the Foundation to preemptively assign the Keter object class to Alastor and make the call to hasten his capture. It would prove to be a wise decision, albeit slightly later than would have been most prudent. Within moments of making the designation, every radio station in the city began to hear the same unnerving refrain. It was the horrible screams of the staff from within the radio building, mixed in with the sound of Alastor's voice. The broadcast of this sick torture remix track was almost a cognito hazard for the people of the city, and things could only get worse if it became apparent to the entire population that it was caused by a demon from hell. There was no way that an ordinary mobile task force could stand against the fallen might of a serial-killing demon overlord, which Alastor most certainly was, so the order was given to open Pandora's box. That is to say, Mobile Task Force Omega-7, aka Pandora's box, was going to be activated for the sake of bringing its unlikely and enigmatic leader into the fold. SCP-076-2, also known as Abel, was an ancient and immortal warrior whose murderous drive to claim glory in battle had caused the Foundation a number of problems in the past, but right now, his ability to fight toe-to-toe with another anomalous monster was the only hope that they had of capturing and containing Alastor the Radio Demon. Abel wouldn't take much convincing to join the battle. A mere summary of Alastor as an adversary was all that the powerful Master of Weapons needed to deem him worthy of a fight to the death. While the SCP Foundation assured Charlie Morningstar that they would do their best to mitigate Abel's bloodlust, the truth was that permanently neutralizing Alastor could become the correct course of action if the demon continued to wreak havoc on the lives of the city. Mobile Task Force Omega-7 arrived in armored cars surrounding the perimeter of the radio building and deployed with their full loadout of anti-anomalous weaponry. Abel was the first inside, and opted to climb the stairs, as the elevator would be too slow for the pace that he was able to move. Within less than a minute, he was on the same floor as Alastor the Radio Demon. Abel walked into the bloodbath, manifesting a black longsword from thin air, along with a short sword to hold in his other hand. He stalked through the corrupted nightmare of the station, which was all beneath his notice, and approached his latest opponent. Alastor turned to face Abel, and the two introduced themselves to each other in warrior fashion. Alastor was quick to joke about the biblical meaning behind Abel's name, and implied that it was very fitting for the canonical first murder victim to be struck down by a serial-killing sinner. Abel merely laughed it off, amused by how hard his opponent seemed to be trying to be slick and threatening. Actions speak louder than words, was Abel's philosophy, and he chose to act on it immediately by rushing Alastor with a flurry of sword strikes. Alastor in turn began to demonstrate his ability to dodge every attack that came at him with grace and fluidity. Abel was undaunted, as he was about to reveal that there was more to his power that Alastor couldn't predict. Streaks of darkness began to pass through the entire room, turning into bladed wires that were extremely durable, despite how thin they were. Alastor's options for motion were restricted, forcing him to use his microphone-topped staff to block Abel's sword swings. The ball was in the Radio Demon's court now, so he served up some tentacles, which managed to clear the black razor wire that Abel had planted. It wasn't as clean as the Radio Demon hoped, however, and even his summoned tentacles took damage when cut by Abel's blades. Alastor hadn't faced a warrior like this in hell, so he asked Abel why he had never heard of such a storied combatant. Abel's answer was simple, yet scathing. He stated that hell was for people who died, which to him meant losers. He drove the point home by cleaving through Alastor's microphone staff, which resulted in a sudden rapid drop in the Radio Demon's combat capability. Backed into a corner, Alastor's eyes glowed with rage and distortion, and he seemed like he was about to reveal a further level of power. Abel braced himself for whatever was coming, but the next round of their showdown would not come to be. Abel's backup arrived, and they brandished a weapon more powerful than any sword or firearm. The MTF agents showed Alastor a laptop screen with a live feed that would allow Charlie Morningstar to reason with her wayward hotelier. Abel stood back, but stood ready in case Alastor decided to make another hostile move. But it seemed that the speech from Charlie was already having an effect. The reality distortion around Alastor continued to calm down as he heard his demonic patron out, and soon he had terminated all signs of aggression. The Radio Demon returned to his typical smiling demeanor and agreed to come along and be reunited with the rest of the Hazbin Hotel crew. Though every single one of the demons were apprehended, The damage to the city was a statistical nightmare, and great pains had to be taken to administer amnestics and cover up the cause of the destruction. Thankfully, Charlie Morningstar was able to lead her group in assisting with cleanup. In practice, a lot of the work was accomplished by Nifty after she was given a sugary soda to make up for the time that she had been kept in captivity. Once the situation had been effectively managed, the SCP Foundation decided that there was only one containment procedure that would be effective for the slew of demons, sending them all back to hell. Charlie and the rest agreed to the terms. There were some that took a great deal of convincing, but it was clear that the world of the living was simply not a place where any of them could live happy and normal lives. They would all have to take their chances working their way up to heaven again, and, as far as the SCP Foundation was concerned, those were matters best left between the demons and angels. With a little help from SCP-343, the demons were sent back from whence they came, while never leaving our hearts. Check out the DrBob Patreon and become a junior researcher today. Now go and watch another entry from the files of DrBob, like Top 10 15 Insanely Evil SCP.